like, that type of stuff. Good feedback, people. If you have critical feedback, pretend that you're talking to somebody who's really sensitive and you might hurt their feelings and just say it nicer, right? Be kinder. The other thing is, if you'd like to donate to our show, this is us. Feel free to donate. We'd like it if you donate it over at BibleNewsRadio.com/give. You can do that. If you want to become a pillar of the community, that would be somebody who holds you up. Yeah, it is. You can do that. And here's the good news, people. Randall and I finally came up with our nonprofit name. I'm not going to tell you it yet, but hopefully in a few months after that's processed, you'll finally get a tax break doing that. And those of you who've been sponsoring us forever without getting that tax break, thank you for doing that. It means a lot to us. You have no idea how much that means to us, because, with our government, tax breaks are really important, just so you know. All right? Okay. All right. So now, here's the other thing. If you're in our chat room, we want you to say hi to Q and ask some questions, because Q wants your feedback, people. And I see a whole bunch of you over on Periscope. I don't know if anybody's on YouTube. I haven't. Maybe I can go over here and see. But anyway, so as I said at the beginning of the show, Q has this great background. Her dad actually was the first promoter of Elvis Presley. You got to tell us this story. Yeah, no? You don't want to tell us?
Okay.
Okay, come back here. There you are. You're back. So tell us about your dad and how'd that happen. So did you get to meet Elvis?
Never met him.
No? Really?
I never met him. But there is a cute little story.
Okay.
Dad started out of course, I'm from Helena, Arkansas. It is down in the Delta. It's hot as fire in the summer there. But it's when you get out of Tennessee and you go over the hills and you go down towards the Mississippi River, everything is so flat. But you see the cotton fields and the soybeans, and it's just home to me. The big cypress trees growing in the waters, it's beautiful. And then when you see the Mississippi River. But anyway, Daddy worked at KFFA in Helena, Arkansas on radio. And then he met Sam Phillips, who owned Sun Records on Union Street in Memphis. And Sam said, come on up and start doing a little promotion work for me. He said, I've got this new kid. He shakes a lot, but I think he's going to be somebody. But I need somebody to take his records around. And it happened to be Elvis Presley. And Elvis was very young then. And Dad was a little flamboyant, and he was very witty and very handsome, just a charming man. And he always wanted to act. And he came up in a very hard life. His dad was killed when he was 3 years old. So his mom had to raise him and two other brothers, literally in the middle of a cotton field and by herself back in the 1920s. It was a very hard time. So he was raised with nothing, but he got his college education and he could act a little bit. So he was seen by a talent scout at one of his plays and got to go to New York and do a little off-Broadway stuff. And then he won a trip to Hollywood. So this was all during the time when he's working with Sam Phillips. So he's trying to take Elvis out and booking a couple of places. And Elvis says, my dad's name was Cecil Scaife. He said, Cecil, I think I need a manager. And, he may have had one record out. And Dad said, now, Elvis, you're not big enough yet for a manager, but I think you could act. Why don't you go to Hollywood with me and let's get you doing some screen tests. And Elvis said, oh, I could never act. So I wish they had both listened to the other.
Uh-huh.
And it would have really been a great thing. But anyway, then Sam moved us to Nashville when I was still a little girl. And you talk about someone that was raised on Music Row, and I was. We never knew who was coming home for dinner. Charlie Rich would be there one day. Glenn Sutton, who was married to Lynn Anderson, he was fabulous songwriter. He would come in. I'd go down to Daddy's office, and there'd sit Johnny Cash. Conway Twitty, believe it or not, used to babysit me. And Minnie Pearl was my daughter's Sunday school teacher.
Really?
She was canon then.
Wow.
And Billy Ray Cyrus, before he was big, he would hang out at our house. and we would feed him tuna fish sandwiches and iced tea, and he would just kind of hang around. And my brother eventually produced Achy Breaky Heart, so that was kind of fun. I've had a very interesting life, but I've always been trying to be very, very grounded with stuff that you mentioned earlier, Stacy, about um, I love the home. I love the home being the center of everything, where you do learn, where you eat together, you have conversations together, you learn how to cook, you learn how to do, special things, not only for your family, but for your community. And going back to the kindness thing, I remember Mother she was always making homemade fudge or cakes or pies to take to a neighbor, or take to the grocery man that would save her extra bacon when it went on sale, or, and you're raised with all these kindnesses that do keep you very centered and solid. And I hope that's what I'm trying to convey to you tonight about kindness is such a simple, simple thing that you can do, but it can mean so much to so many people, no matter if you're a big music star, if you're an actor. And I worked with a ton of actors when I was at QVC. I mean, a ton of them. So many were on there. And there were some that were so kind to us, and there were some that were they wouldn't give you the time of day. But we'd always try to be kind to them,
Yeah.
and just because once you're kind, it's going to snowball and spread out.
It's true. Earlier you mentioned Amy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told you the story, didn't I, about how she did an interview with me?
Yeah.
I told you the
Yeah.
story about how I prayed and
Mm-hmm.
asked the Lord to be able to do an interview, but did I tell you about the second interview I did with her?
No, tell us.
Okay, so I will tell you this because I think you'll find this, it actually fits into what you just said earlier. So, and this is great because you didn't even know the story. So this is great. So after she was on our show for the first time, we were her first podcast that she did, believe it or not, which cracks me up still. But here's the thing. So it was a couple of years later, she wrote a book. You remember when she wrote her book? Okay, yeah, she wrote her book, and she was on book tour, and so I requested another interview for that book because, hello, I'm interviewing people about their books, and her publicist Velvet, who I'm sure you probably know who that is too, probably. Anyway, I called up and I said, I'd like to get an interview with Amy on her book, and Velvet said, well, just so you know, she's really booked, so I'm going to write a note. I'm going to put it on my desk, and we'll get back to you on that, basically. So I was okay with it. I mean, I was like, well, I already had her on my show one time, but whatever. About 6 months passed, because this is actually what they told me. The publicist said, during the summer things let up a little bit, blah blah. I was like, okay. About 6 months passed, and one afternoon, I got a phone call from the publicist saying, Amy came in today. She wanted to know if there's anybody she could do something nice for.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. That was exactly what they said. And we looked down on our desk where we had put your note about you wanting an interview. The note was still sitting there, and they took it and they handed it to Amy. And they called me, of course, first to make sure Amy could call me. And anyway, and Amy did, and I ended up talking to her for an hour. And for an A-list guest like that,
wow.
you get 5-10 minutes usually with somebody like Amy. You don't get that.
Yeah. No.
That you don't get an hour. So I actually spoke to her a half hour off air, and then we did the interview. It was a half hour. So there you go.
That's who she is.
Yeah.
That is who she is. And her husband's the sweetest thing too. So kind.
Yep. So I want to know, people, and Q wants to know, what's some nice stuff that's happened to you, okay? I see there's some stuff here in our chat here. Tommy and Jennifer. By the way, today is one of my BFF's birthdays. Today is Dr. Jennifer Fee's birthday. I won't tell you how old she is. 53. Anyway, yeah, I harassed her about it earlier today. Happy birthday, Jen. Glad you're here. Anyway, and let's see here. Hopefully that made you laugh. I'll hear about it later if it didn't. Nah, it did. It made her laugh. Okay, anyway. And so does anybody have any stories you guys want to share? I know it's, it takes a little bit of time to type some stuff in, but Q would really like to, hear some stuff. Why don't you have any other stories? Randall, do you have any stories? I mean, I could talk a lot about all the cool stories that I have, but, you guys probably, you know, may or may not like that. That's one of the problems with type delay, Randall.
So you're talking about just instances of kindness that.
Yeah, have you been paying attention to the show?
Yeah, that's the kind of stories you want. I mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, it's interesting. Just a couple of days ago, I was watching this TED Talk about oxytocin, and this guy was saying that when you do something nice for somebody, boost your oxytocin, the recipient is, and then even if you watch somebody do a kind act, it raises your oxytocin level, etc. And so, yeah, it can really just build. Yeah, I've been the recipient of many kind things. If I were to say the kindest person in my life, it's really hard to tell. I mean, my mother was awfully kind to me, but I don't know. Just in my adult life, this is kind of weird, but it was kind of that. I remember you and I, Stace, had a joint birthday party, and I had my birthday. You had your graduation. That's what we were doing.
Okay, I was gonna say 'cause my birthday's in October. Yours is in May.
I was thinking,
I
joint
graduated.
birthday graduation party. Anyway, and then one of the people attending, one of the cards I got, they had in there a donation to buy Bibles through the Gideons, and so to me that was, of all the gifts I've ever gotten in my life, I remember that one because that was one that people knew what was important to me, getting the word out there, and that kind of card not only was just birthday card, which is kind, but we know it's important to you. And so anyway, I know that didn't sound earth-shattering, but
Yeah.
I remember to all these, to this day, because
So you remember who it was?
yeah, it was Brian and Dee that did that.
Okay. I know who they are, people. Yeah. You probably don't, but I do. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So there you go.
No, her name is Laquita. Yeah. Somebody says they asked if your name was La Quinta. You probably get that a lot,
I get that a lot, though. And then I'll say, do you want to make a reservation?
Oh, yeah. This is our neocon atheist friend that watches us.
Oh.
He's cool. Very cool. He's a neocon atheist. I love it. I've actually talked to him. We've done discussions and stuff. So I was trying to see over on Facebook if there's any comments over there. I know Jeannie Stein from Georgia has weighed in. Hey, people with new peepers, thank you very much for that. Yeah. Speaking of nice people, though, Jeannie Stein from Georgia, one of the nicest things she ever did for me was was it Christmas? I think it was Christmas. Or maybe it was my birthday. I can't remember. She knows I love birds and cardinals in particular. And she sent me this little cardinal plastic thing that's like you hang it up and the sun gets on it and the wings flap as a result of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I always think about her when do that. And pretty much everybody in our normal audience that I know who they are, whether they've donated to us or sent us a card or stopped by our house. One of my viewers came from Australia to visit us and spent the weekend with us. And she bought me this brown purse that says Australia on it. So every time I use it, I think about Beth because that's what she did. All right, let's see here. I like it when someone reminds me years later of a kindness I did. I don't remember it at all. That's what the birthday girl says. Yeah. Thanks.
Good.
Yeah, and that's true because you don't know.
Mm-mm.
You know what you said about
Never know. You never know.
Well, that's the
It,
thing. You know what you said about those people being, you know, training those young women to be nice. You know, to all the people, because I bet you, then it can get in your head like you're so great, you know.
yeah, they do. They get these little attitudes. They do. I heard of a story of a lady that went to work. It was her first day on the job, and a lady walked up to her and just gave her, the lady that came up and smiled at her and said good morning did not realize it was this girl's first day of work. So anyway, several months went by and the two happened to meet again, and the lady that was on the receiving end of the smile looked at that lady and said, I have to tell you something. The day that we met the first time on the sidewalk, we didn't say a word, but you gave me the biggest smile and said hello. She said, it was my first day of work, and you were the only person that smiled at me all day long. She said, I will never forget that.
Aw.
I'll never forget that story, because we don't know how it affects people. But I do want to give, if you go, well, of course I'm kind, I just want to give you some fresh ideas maybe that you can kind of put in your head and think about. Because
Okay.
I'm really all about being kind, people.
Can I share one other story really fast?
Please do. Since
Because
it's your show.
well, here's the thing. What you just said though, maybe it reminded me of this story, because you know how you do stuff and you don't know that people, you know that. Okay, so I was in Food Lion
Yeah.
months ago, and I don't even remember. I have no idea what the event was or whatever, but the checkout guy or somebody, I think it was the checkout guy, who was helping me find something or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but I gave him a hug or something. It was a woman. I wouldn't have do it to a man. It was a woman. It's all coming back. It's my middle-aged menopause brain. Yeah, it is. Anyway, so here's the thing. And I remember they helped me out, and I was like, gave him a hug. I'm like, that was the best thing ever. Thank you so much. Everything. I'm a little full of enthusiasm. Completely forgot about it. And it was probably a year later. This guy was he was a cashier, or woman. This woman was a cashier, and I was checking out. And I looked at her. I'm like, you look familiar, but I don't remember you doing this. And she said, oh, I remember you. I go, is that a good thing? She said, yeah, you gave me a hug on a day that I really needed it.
Oh,
And I was like, I had no idea. So again, what you just said, that's just a testimony.
which leads me to another thing.
Okay.
Follow your gut, your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Qism. You have to follow your gut, because sometimes you get these little nudges and God saying, speak to them or do something for them. And you have that choice right that second. God, I'm just too busy. I don't want to. I'm having a terrible day. Or you can totally change your whole attitude around and do what you feel led to do. So can I give my little list of some refreshers
Of course.
on kindness? Okay.
Yes, you can do it.
Just kind of think about these folks, during the day or the evening or whatever, and make it a point. Smile at someone during the day. Someone, your mailman, whomever. Smile at someone. Sit on your front porch and drink your iced tea and smile at someone that goes by. Smile at someone every day. Maybe pick up the paper in your neighbor's yard, like trash or something. Just pick it up and then go throw it away. Write a thank you note. We talked about that. Encouragement, thank you, thinking about you. Not an email or a text, but write a note that goes through the mail. Open the door for an elderly person. Just be kind to elderly people. So many of them are lonely. They've lost their loved ones. They've lost their spouse, or maybe their children live far away, or maybe they don't have children. I try to touch an older person until they say don't do it. And I've never been turned away, because sometimes they need that touch. Just that little touch on the arm. Are you okay today? Can I do anything for you today? You look so pretty. Compliment them. Compliment them on their dress. Compliment them on their hair. Just say something sweet to them. They will cherish that. They may not get that. We don't do enough for our elderly people. Give a drink of water to a thirsty dog or an animal. Thank your police officers. I saw some today at lunch, and I just said, thank you so much. I want you to know I am praying for y'all. I know you're going through a hard time. And they just kind of said, okay, thank you, and walked out the door. But I felt good. I want them to know I appreciate them and what they're going through. This is another way of being kind. If you're in a conversation and maybe you're feeling provoked and you really want to jump in and tear somebody up about something, walk away. Just walk away. Just be kind and walk away. Be a good listener. If someone's telling you something, just sit there, look them in the eye and listen. They may just want someone to just pour some stuff out, and all you have to do is sit there and listen. And that's all they need. We talked about this. If someone crosses your mind during the day, maybe you hadn't heard from them or thought of them in months, but if they cross your mind, that's a little God wink going, you need to contact them. Just say hello. Just say, I'm praying for you. I really miss you. Something like that. Volunteer somewhere. You have a good talent. Maybe you make great, I don't know, whatever you make great at, pies, whatever. Make a pie and send it to somebody, but volunteer to do something for someone. Always make people feel welcome in your home. You don't have to come and say, oh, my house is a mess, my gracious. Come in. Let me get you something to drink. Tell the truth and give. When you give, you're giving kindness. So whatever you give out to people, that is an act of kindness. So it's a commandment from God. Be ye kind to one another. We're commanded to do that.
I don't think I've ever done a show on kindness.
Well,
It's 16 years.
Well, we need it now for sure.
Yeah.
We really need it now. Mm-hmm.
Well, my neocon friend here, he wrote, I was contacted on Facebook by someone I honestly didn't remember and thanked for saving him from getting beat up when we were young. I don't recall him, but I remember the guy I saved him from.
Oh, awesome.
There you go.
There you go.
He said he was far, far right. Make America great again, people.
Yeah.
I mean that in the nicest democratic way possible. All right. So, so smile, pick up trash, write thank you notes, care about elderly people. Yes, as somebody who's been taking care of my elderly dad for 5 years, I can tell you that that's so important. Compliment, give a drink of water to animals. That was one that I wouldn't have thought of, and you're right. Police officers, of course, walk away. That's so, you know what? I know people don't believe it, but I have walked away from stuff. I walked away from Facebook a little while ago because I was like, no, I ain't going there. No, I am not saying anything. Volunteering, making people feel welcome in your home. Now that one to me is I don't have a problem with it, but my home isn't the cleanest house in the world, and I'm okay with how I live, but I grew up with a mom who was very like, you lived in a museum. It's like she had glass tables. And if I walked on the carpet after she vacuumed it and left a footprint, she would yell at me and my brother, and I'd be like, well, am I supposed to walk on the wall? I mean, so it's not a rebellious thing for me, but I know what it's like to live in a sterile environment. And so
I do too. I know exactly what you're talking about. We couldn't sit on the beds. We had to play outside every day.
Yeah.
And Mother had white carpet, white bedspread, white everything.
Why?
I don't know. She loved white.
What people?
So it was very hard to keep clean, and you couldn't sit on the bed. And so I'm like you, Stacy. You come in, you sit anywhere you want to. You can eat in my living room. You can jump on my bed if you want to. Almost.
Well, I won't go that far, but I will say you can stay downstairs.
I feel comfortable in my house. Feel comfortable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's funny because I remember when I was about 19, 20, or maybe not even that old. No, I was on my own. Well, yeah, I left at 18. So when I was probably about 19 or 20, I drove over to a friend's house at 4:00 in the morning. That it was a youth coach of mine, actually, who was kind of a mentor to me when I first got saved. And she was there. She opened her house, but her house was never clean. She had a lot of animals. She had 4 kids. you know, but you know what? Her couch was there for me that day. So, you know, and to me, that's all that mattered was,
All that matters. Yep.
you
You
know,
better believe it.
so I know our show's almost over. It's hard to believe a whole hour went by like that, didn't it? Yeah, it did.
Yep.
I know. But there was a question. Actually, somebody asked a question. Let's see here. I'm going to get to your question, TR Fun Guy, just a second. There was another question. Oh, Tommy Norman, who is one of our Pastor Tommy Norman. She's a great periscoper. She asked, who were your favorite QBC hosts to work with? So
Ah,
that's one question, and then I'll get TR Fun Guy's question.
okay. Probably my favorite, and he's still on the air, is David Venable, because he was from the Carolinas, so we could always talk about fried green tomatoes, barbecue. We both love the Andy Griffith Show. He was just genuine, absolutely, totally genuine. I did a lot with Jane Rudolph Tracy. She was great and fun. Of course, Mary Beth Rowe was absolutely the same on air as off air. So I had several that were just sweet people. But David would probably be my favorite.
Okay. I have no idea who these people are.
Okay.
It's okay. It's really sad. I live in Nashville. I'm sure I've met famous people. I don't even know who they are.
You have. I'm sure you have.
I have. I'm just like, who are you? I have no idea who you are. Okay, anyway. TR Fun Guy said recommendations on how to be kind to your neighbor. So, did you just come in? I think we gave a list, but do you mean something different than that specifically?
A lot of times it's a neighbor is someone really special because you're bordering properties and you're going to see each other more often than you're going to see most people in your neighborhood. So every time you see them outside, at least say hello. How are you doing? Compliment them on something. Hey, you want to ever come over one time? We're going to sit on the porch and have, a glass of iced tea. Or you can go over and say, if you're a woman, I just made these cookies. I'd like to share them with you. It's got to be random. Everybody expects something during the holidays, but it's a random Tuesday afternoon. Say, hey, I made these great lemon squares today. I wanted to bring you some. It's just keeping that little communication thing open. And when you give, it comes back to you 100 million times. And that's not the reason you do it. But that's the great thing about when you're kind to someone. It gives you such a feeling that you couldn't get anywhere else. And it's a blessing to you. It fills your heart up. It fills your soul up. It makes you just bubble over. It makes you feel good. I love that.
I will tell you that when Randall and I moved here to the South from Southern California, that we were pleasantly surprised by the hospitality of people here. I mean, we know every neighbor on our street, at least by name, or at least by visibility. I mean, there's new people that have come on, but generally we get a new neighbor, we give them cookies or whatever. That in California, that would never happen. We actually, this is kind of funny. We we had an earthquake in California once, and then all these things were going on. And Randall and I, we lived in apartments. That's how long ago it was, before we even owned a house. And we were like, hey, we want to get to know our neighbors, so I made a flyer that said something like, why wait till the next earthquake, to get to know your neighbor? And we went around, and flyered all the houses, in hopes to get to know our neighbor. And you know what happened? You'll love this. What happened was the only neighbors that contacted us were our next door neighbor. They lived across the way. They were both developmentally disabled adults that were just barely old enough to live on their own. They were actually married. Actually, it was kind of interesting. They were the only ones that accepted our invite, and they became our friends. And one time the man, was it him that he set his shoe on fire, and do you remember what I'm talking about, Randall?
Yeah, but we're out of time.
I know. Anyway. But anyway, they were the sweetest people. All right. Just one other thing. TR Fun Guy said, actually, he meant neighbor as in the parable Jesus told of those of vastly different religions. So, of how to be kind
to. Another show.
Yeah, it's another show. But Just saying. All right.
It's
So
still the basic. It's still the basic kindness. It doesn't matter the other religion. It doesn't. None of that matters. It's still the basic kindness coming from the heart.
there you go. All right. Do you have any final words?
I just want to thank you. This has been fun. It's been a great lesson for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody that watched. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
people.
you, Stacy and Randall.
Well, I'm so happy you came on. All right, now so tomorrow, everybody, tomorrow night, I have my friend Lynette McKinley coming on the show. She is a Trim Healthy Mama coach. Yeah, she is, and she's also a John Maxwell certified coach, and she's also my friend in Legal Shield that lives in Texas. So come on tomorrow night if you want to learn about some health. If you want to learn about the Trim Healthy Mama way to eat. And learn from Lynette. You're going to love her. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world, just so you know. So tune in tomorrow night, same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. And as I always say, at the end of every show, be bold, people. Stand up and go with God because he loves you. And so do I. I'll talk to you soon.